What happens when the greatest attacking team in the world faces an unbreakable defensive wall? What if I told you that Barcelona's unstoppable tiki-taka was completely shut down in their own backyard? And what if one man, José Mourinho, orchestrated one of the most legendary tactical masterclasses in football history? Controversy, drama, red cards, and the ultimate defensive display. This is the story of the 2010 Champions League semi-final between Inter Milan and Barcelona. And trust me, you don't want to miss this. Football has given us many legendary matches, but very few can match the intensity, drama, and sheer tactical brilliance of the 2010 Champions League semi-final between Inter Milan and Barcelona. This was not just a football match. It was a battle of philosophies, a collision of two footballing titans, and a night that would go down in history. On one side, there was Barcelona, the reigning European champions under Pep Guardiola. They were the team that played a beautiful game of football, mesmerizing the world with their tiki-taka style. They had Lionel Messi at his peak, along with Xavi and Iniesta dictating the midfield. And to top it all off, they had already won the Champions League in 2009 and were determined to do it again. On the other side stood Inter Milan, managed by the charismatic and controversial José Mourinho. They had not won the Champions League in decades, but under Mourinho, they had transformed into a ruthless machine. They were built differently from Barcelona, while Guardiola's team played with elegance and precision. Mourinho's Inter played with grit, determination, and defensive solidity. This semi-final was more than just a game. It was personal. Barcelona saw themselves as the rightful kings of Europe, and Mourinho saw himself as the man to dethrone them. So what unfolded throughout these two legs was a spectacle of genius mind games, controversy, and a defensive display that still stands as one of the greatest in football history. It was April 20th, 2010, and the stage was set at the iconic San Siro Stadium in Milan. The atmosphere was electric. The Nerazzurri fans knew they were up against the best team in the world, but they also knew they had Mourinho, the master of big games. Barcelona started the match just as everyone expected. They dominated possession with their signature passing game, moving the ball around with ease. Inter could barely touch the ball in the opening minutes. The warning signs were there, and it did not take long before Barcelona made their mark. In the 19th minute, Barcelona found the breakthrough. Dani Alves made a sharp run down the right flank and slipped a pass to Maxwell. The Brazilian defender cut the ball back into the box where Pedro was waiting. With a composed finish, Pedro slotted the ball past Julio César, giving Barcelona a crucial away goal. It was a nightmare start for Inter. Down by an early goal against a team like Barcelona was dangerous. They could pass you to death and suffocate you into submission. But Mourinho had instilled a fighting spirit in his team. Instead of panicking, they regrouped and went on the attack. Inter needed a hero, and they found one in Diego Milito. The Argentine striker was in the form of his life, and in the 30th minute, he showed why. He found Wesley Sneijder unmarked in the box, and with a cool first-time finish, Sneijder buried the ball into the net. San Siro exploded. The crowd shouted in joy as Inter had clawed their way back into the game. They were no longer just trying to survive. They were starting to believe. If the first goal was about hope, the second goal was about power. Inter smelled blood, and they attacked with intent. In the 48th minute, Milito again turned provider, playing a perfect pass to Maicon, who had made a surging run into the box. Maicon still had a lot to do, but he showed incredible composure as he fired a low, powerful shot past Victor Valdés. The ball hit the back of the net, and Inter were leading 2-1. This was not part of Barcelona's script. They were supposed to dominate this match. They were not supposed to be trailing, but things were about to get even worse for them. Barcelona were rattled, but they still had the ability to score at any moment. Inter needed another goal to give themselves a cushion, and in the 61st minute, they got it. Sneijder floated a perfect cross into the box, and there was Milito again, the man who had been at the heart of everything. With a precise header, he guided the ball into the net, making it 3-1. Inter Milan 3, Barcelona 1. The stadium was shaking. Mourinho was screaming on the sidelines. His team had just taken down the giants of Europe, and they had done it with style. Barcelona could not believe what was happening. Their passing was no longer effective. Their attacks were being broken up by Inter's relentless midfield pressing. They were used to controlling games, but tonight they were being suffocated by Mourinho's tactics. When the final whistle blew, Inter knew they had made a statement, but the job was far from over. A 3-1 lead was great, but against Barcelona at the Camp Nou, it was never going to be safe. April 28, 2010. Camp Nou. The second leg. Barcelona had 90 minutes to turn things around. They needed to score at least twice without conceding. Most teams would have crumbled under the pressure of playing in the Camp Nou against this Barcelona side. But Inter Milan were not most teams, and José Mourinho was not like most managers. Inter started the game with defensive play keeping their shape and denying Barcelona any space. But in the 28th minute came the game's biggest controversy. Thiago Motta went in for a challenge on Sergio Busquets. The Barcelona midfielder fell to the ground dramatically, covering his face. The referee bought it, and out came the red card. Inter were down to 10 men. For the next 60 minutes, they would have to survive against Barcelona with one man less. It seemed impossible. But this is where Mourinho's tactics reached legendary status. With 10 men, Inter did not just park the bus. They parked every bus in Italy. They formed two rigid defensive lines and denied Barcelona any clear shots at goal. They pressed at the right moments, tackled with precision, and blocked everything that came their way. Lucio and Walter Samuel were like warriors throwing themselves at every ball. Javier Zanetti was everywhere, covering every inch of the pitch. Esteban Cambiaso fought like a gladiator, intercepting passes and breaking down attacks. Barcelona had 86% possession. They passed and passed, but could not find a way through. With time running out, Barcelona finally broke through in the 84th minute. Gerard Piqué received a pass inside the box and produced an incredible turn to beat the defender before slotting the ball into the net. Camp Nou erupted. Barcelona needed just one more goal. Could they do it? Barcelona threw everything forward. In stoppage time, Bojan thought he had scored the winner, but the referee had already blown for a handball in the build-up. That was it. The final whistle blew. Inter Milan had done it. They had knocked out the reigning champions in their own backyard. Mourinho sprinted onto the pitch, fists clenched, celebrating wildly as Barcelona fans threw objects at him. Guardiola stood in disbelief. The football world had just witnessed one of the greatest tactical performances in history. Inter Milan were heading to the Champions League final. A few weeks later, Inter Milan defeated Bayern Munich in the final, securing a historic treble. Mourinho had done what many thought was impossible. He had beaten Barcelona at their peak. This was not just a semi-final. It was a war, a tactical chess match, a night of footballing brilliance. Inter Milan versus Barcelona, 2010, remains one of the most dramatic and unforgettable matches in Champions League history. A game where Mourinho's tactical genius and his team's defensive resilience overcame one of the greatest footballing sides ever assembled. Football at its absolute finest. But what do you think? Was this the greatest defensive performance ever? Was Barcelona unlucky? Or was Mourinho simply a genius? Let us know in the comments. And if you love legendary football moments like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more epic stories.